All right, well, welcome everybody. We're excited to talk with you again today. We got a little coffee with Korey and Jeff, and today we wanted to address a topic that we get asked about quite often, and really it comes down to the tech stack, right? The tech stack, and we talk through this with our customers quite a bit, and that is, what do I need in my technology array? What are the features I need? Who does what well? What are the pieces that are important for a dental practice to run well, save money, save time, grow, handle your patient experience well, handle your patients well, handle the clinical side of things well? Lots of decisions around that, right? And there's all kinds of technology out there. We could go a million different directions with that. But where Korey and I get asked about most really is probably between the practice management system and the patient engagement solution, or the PRM, the patient relationship management. So that's really probably where our field of expertise is probably most helpful, and seeing what's been being developed, seeing what's out there in the industry, and what's important for our dental practices. So you want to touch on that, Korey, and kind of get us rolling on practice management solutions, PRM, what do I need, what's important?
Yeah, well, the PMS solution is, of course, the basis of your daily operations, especially clinically. So that's a key component to the tech stack.
Yep.
And probably the home base.
Yeah.
And the tech stack, or the PMS solution, is really where you have connections into other technologies, right, like in this case the PRM.
Right, kind of the lifeblood, the heartbeat of the practice is probably that practice management solution.
Yep. And so then there's really two versions, the on-premise solution or the cloud-based solution.
Right. Yep.
And that's the big debate right now is, when do I go to the cloud?
Yeah.
And
where is the cloud?
Yeah, where is it?
And when do I go there?
Yeah, depending on where you live, you might see the clouds a lot.
Yeah.
So those are the two kind of bases, is, on-premise or cloud-based PMS solution, and then the patient engagement solution, and how those two talk to each other. That's really, and what you should expect from one versus the other.
Good point. So when we're talking about a PMS and a PRM, the practice management solution and the patient engagement solution, what are typically the questions? Why is that even a point of conversation?
Well, because they're starting to be a blurred line between what the two are designed for. And this is an industry problem, because we as an industry are a technology industry serving the dental industry. We are tending to look at things from the perspective, we believe, from the wrong perspective, which is...
At times, yeah.
At times, which is, if we bring all of these things to our customer will stay. So for example, the PRM solution is starting to get into areas of the PMS solution that might not be the best serving for the customer, because they're trying to be a sticky product.
Yep.
And then vice versa. The PMS solution might be moving into the PRM space because they're wanting to be a sticky product. But then you and I have the benefit of understanding what is outside of the dental industry and the reverse thinking that's outside of the industry.
Sure.
And I think, we talked about Salesforce as a comparison.
Right. So Salesforce is an interesting example, right? Salesforce has been tremendously successful, easily the largest CRM in the world, right? The sales platform, marketing platform in the world that businesses use to kind of manage their customers. Easily the largest. But they decided early on, they knew they couldn't be the best at everything, right? Like Hyundai can't build a great 3/4 ton construction work truck. It's not their game, right? QuickBooks is not going to be a great marketing platform. Right. And it's not in their best interest to build that. So Salesforce early on made a brilliant decision to create an open architecture and create an ecosystem where things bolt in to where ultimately the customer wins.
Yes.
And that was a decision that was very, very brilliant from Salesforce to do that. So what are some of the benefits of that?
Well, the benefits are each system gets to specialize.
Right.
I mean, that's the number one benefit. And that's going to ultimately make that system on either side of the table stronger.
Yep.
So instead of thinking, well, if we keep bolting on tools that
Trying to do it all.
yeah, trying to do it all,
Yeah.
and we know how costly it is to try that. We've made some failures of our own.
Sure.
It's you get too far reaching and you can't support that particular product or feature well,
Yep.
and it doesn't have the depth that it needs, and therefore it really doesn't solve the problem you were originally wanting to solve for your customer, which is
Right.
to make your product better and make them want to keep it.
Okay.
Well, we need to focus.
Okay, so you just touched on something really good. If you think of these in categories, PMS, PRM, maybe even phone systems,
Yeah.
this attempt of these lines blurring towards each other, right? A phone system becoming a PRM, and a PRM becoming a PMS, and a PMS becoming a PRM, and
Yeah.
what other acronyms can we throw out
Yeah.
there, right? Like they're all
We've got a few more.
yeah, trying to blur the lines. And what happens is at the edge of those blurry points, you use the word depth,
Yes.
right? And let's talk through that. Like what can happen in those fringe solutions?
Well, let's talk about forms as an example. Forms can either be a static type product that only can allow so much flexibility for the end user. Maybe it's a PDF of your health history form that is then digitized.
Yep.
Well, that isn't necessarily very technologically innovative.
Right.
Or it could be a form that accommodates a broader spectrum, because a digital form should be a form that's designed to collect any kind of data.
Sure.
And that data should be able to seamlessly work with patient contact information, perhaps online booking solutions,
Yeah.
perhaps
Collecting lead information,
Collecting
lead data, health history forms,
Yeah.
a myriad of uses for forms, right?
yeah. So
So it's complicated.
yeah, very complicated. And so perhaps a PMS solution might only think in realms of, well, I need to collect health information, so I'm going
Right.
to build a form solution that's for health information. But they're missing a whole world of opportunity in terms of contact data collection, because if you want to market to those based on specific patient personas or behaviors or treatment types or these types of things, you got to be able to collect the data.
Right. Right.
So that's one example of where if you specialize,
Yeah.
you have the ability to broaden your capabilities.
Right.
Whereas if you're just trying to fill a gap
Right.
with a piece of technology, the end user doesn't benefit.
Yep. Right. So trying to do it all, trying to be all things can be dangerous. It can be, it doesn't serve the customer well typically. And, maybe things, get sold that we're a software company.
Yeah.
We know how hard it is to build depth
Yes.
into your solutions. Dozens and dozens and dozens of developers cranking away, trying to create quality solutions, and knowing how hard it is to expand that outer layer of functionality.
Yes.
And so when you mentioned, Korey, early on here, practice management solutions being the lifeblood clinically,
Yes.
imaging, scheduling, things like that being really important. PRMs, what's just for our viewers, obviously, let's just touch on what we say when we say PRM really quickly, because we know the dialogue about what a PMS does. What does the PRM do? What should it do well?
Yeah. Well, I think a PRM should, no matter what PRM solution you're evaluating, should cover the what we term here as the lead to patient journey,
Right.
and all facets there within.
Yep.
So
I don't know you yet. I'm a lead
Yep.
on into a patient, on through their life cycle.
Yep, potentially maybe they're in threat of leaving, and so we need to reactivate them.
Sure.
So that is a core business process in and of itself.
Yep.
That is, and there's a lot of intricacies in making that journey seamless, both
Yeah.
for the patient and for the team, so they're efficient and the patient is not confused.
Right.
So, example, if you break that lead to patient journey up, and you have disparate solutions that are trying to solve that, whether it's your PMS trying to solve that or other third-party solutions, then we know that communications by nature is all about consistency and frequency, so that we build trust with that patient, right? So simply put, if you go to McDonald's in New York or you go to McDonald's in Chicago, or you go to McDonald's in Seattle, you get a consistent experience. Not necessarily a good one. It depends on what you think about McDonald's.
True. Let's use Starbucks.
Let's use Starbucks. That's a much better example. I don't know why I use McDonald's, but you get the point, right? There's consistency there.
Sure.
The Big Mac's going to be the same, or the latte's going to be the same.
Right.
When you add in a bunch of disparate solutions that can't communicate to each other, you have communication breakdown, and you have a confused patient.
Yeah. Well, even Starbucks, they started trying to do a wine bar for a while. I bet most people don't even know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They started to do, they experimented with it a couple towns, dismal failure, right? Like
They're not in the wine industry.
They're not in the wine industry, trying to go do too much, right? Yeah. So when you talked about that patient journey for the PRM, the patient engagement, there are some complicated, sophisticated features and workflows and things that are not easy to build. It's hard to do all those things. And there are some complicated, sophisticated things that happen clinically with the PMS solution.
Absolutely. I mean, simply put, we will never be a PMS solution.
Nope. Yep.
We're just not going there.
Right.
And so categorically, as you're making these decisions about your technology stack, you need to look at them, in our opinion, you need to look at them not from a feature by feature basis, but what does it do well, and what was it designed to do, and what is the core expertise of that business?
Yeah.
Because what that core business stands for is probably what their product's going to do well.
That's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a PMS solution and you're expecting to be a good phone system or PRM solution, I'd be careful.
Yeah.
If you're a phone system and you're trying to be a patient management system, I'd be careful.
Yeah.
So look at the core basis of what the product was built upon.
Yeah.
In our case, we're a marketing-centric patient relationship management solution.
Yep.
We're not going to be something that is going to solve, the clinical side of efficiency.
Sure.
And I don't do that.
And I think a lot of times it comes down to ROI, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it comes down to looking at what the solution does well. You said that really well. Like, what's their identity? Mm-hmm. That's probably the best place to start when making a decision for that solution from that vendor. What do I know them to be, mm-hmm. right? But then it gets into budget, right? Because, cost is always a real thing, and you can spend yourself into oblivion with
if you
technology.
buy all the solutions on the market, you'd go out of business probably.
Right, and that's probably the impetus of the conversation of, can I get it all in one spot? Can one solution just please do it for me? Because I don't want to spend the extra money. But that's not reality. Yeah. So you do have to go into analysis mode. Mm-hmm. And what am I getting for what am I spending? And I think oftentimes when we get asked this question from the practices and the dentists that are out there, we really encourage them not to get into analysis paralysis mode and not to go digging through dollars for dimes.
Yes.
Because while $200 or $300 a month for a good PRM or a few $100 a month for some other solution sounds like I'm looking at my line items, I really would like to cross that off. Yeah. You've got to look at the ROI on that and say, is that worth $250 a month or $300 a month to have a really solid solution that works?
Yeah. I hear often, I certainly don't want to have two systems that have the same feature. It's like, wow, that's a really tough battle you're never going to solve, because if you get into that feature by feature specific comparison, you're really not analyzing the software for what you should be, and you're never going to feel satisfied.
Right.
That's not realistic.
Right.
How many softwares do we use in this company to operate this business,
Oh my
Jeff?
goodness. Over a dozen, probably 15.
Yeah.
And certainly they do have crossover.
Tremendous crossover, but we know what each of those particular products, their specific value proposition, the ROI for having that particular product, even though this product to the left or right of it might have comparison features, but we need this software for this particular element.
Not to get hung up on that. So, so PMS versus PRM, tech stack, what do I need, what's important? And I think what we're this first point we're touching on is you really can't do it all well.
Yep.
We can't do it all well.
No.
It's very challenging out there, and your customers typically are underserved. Your practice is underserved if you try to stretch solutions too far.
Yep.
Right? And try to get too much all-in-one. All-in-one's a good concept, But you got to know where the outside gray areas are that aren't going to get done
all in
well.
one within a border of all in one. In
all
other
in one
words,
with guardrails.
This compartment is all in one. This compartment is all in one.
Yeah.
This compartment is all in one.
Yeah. You know, there are some other benefits too to having some separation between systems that can hold your patient data. There are certainly other benefits to having a multi-layered solution. One of those being, you know, we've experienced this, Korey, where we've had practices who, you know, unfortunately, and it's awful, is they've either had a natural disaster or they've had, you know, a theft or something like that where they lose their practice management system data.
Yeah.
I mean, just ripping the lifeblood out of the practice. I mean, it happens, frankly, at an astonishing rate. So, you know, what are some of the benefits of having some redundancy there between your PMS and your PRM?
Yeah, well, you know, you bring up, unfortunately, like you said, it's a horrible thing, but I can think of 3 stories that come to mind right when you say that, of scenarios where the client had a hacking situation, another one where their system was completely out for a week because of a major weather disaster.
Yep.
And one other scenario where they had a flood.
Yep.
And all of these 3 scenarios, we were, of course, blessed with being able to help them because the PRM solution in our case was cloud-based and the data was accessible by a browser.
Yep.
And so they were able to get through that, contact patients, engage with patients, stay communicative while they got their solution figured
Absolutely.
out.
And even in the cloud world,
Yes.
I sit on the product and tech side a little more, and we actually have had situations where, you know, heaven forbid it happens, but it does happen. Even the cloud practice management system has lost data and has had an outage, and not having any redundancy there is really challenging for the practice. And we have actually been a secondary source backup of patient data, even for other cloud systems.
Yeah. So redundancy, security, that's operational efficiency.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with features.
Right.
You know, it has everything to do with your tech stack.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we're talking about really between your PMS and your PRM, having solutions that work, paying for things that actually impact your practice. Second is there is absolutely some data redundancy there as well. Certainly that is helpful. You know, and on the topic of the on-premise solution, which means you have a physical server in your location versus cloud, versus a cloud solution, not just data loss, but also just convenience. Because the world, there's a reason not every practice management system is in the cloud. I mean, there are definite benefits to an on-premise solution.
Yes.
So it's very prevalent. I mean, it's frankly far more prevalent to have an on-premise solution. But some of those on-premise PMS solutions are also blurring those lines of patient engagement. And so, you know, one of the other benefits of if you have an on-prem solution and a cloud-based PRM solution is the ability to just do things remotely.
Yes.
Is the ability to, you know, pick up my phone and access all of my patient data, send a bulk text message, do things from your home, do things from Hawaii, for crying out loud, that you can't do with an on-prem solution.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think about, again, the on-prem solution is, you know, now you're dealing with when an update occurs, that update has to be pushed, you know, at the practice level.
Sure.
Whereas
Yep.
a cloud-based solution, you know, when we roll out a feature update, the client doesn't even necessarily have to do anything.
Right, they don't have to take a disk and put it in and like set up and install. It just magically happens.
That's
right?
old school.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, there's definitely that advantage. But it's part of getting used to the fact that, yes, you have to open up a browser to access that information. But that's glorious because it's all there for you, whether you're in Hawaii drinking a Mai Tai or whether you're at the practice. You know, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
So there's a lot of advantages to that cloud-based system. Having said that, the PRM or PMSs that are cloud-based, again, they have some amazing benefits like that.
Yeah.
But just in making those decisions, making sure that those cloud-based PMS solutions also integrate with the solutions that your needing to build
Yeah.
your tech stack, because what we're seeing is that the cloud-based solutions are certainly where we're headed for both PMS and PRM solutions.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure that that open environment, like the Salesforce,
Play well with others.
Let's play well with others, because you will find yourself in a situation, unfortunately, and we've had this happen with clients, where they look to a PMS solution that they think is going to be amazing because it's cloud-based, and then they only find out that it doesn't work with their imaging system, or it doesn't work with their PRM, or whatever that case may be. So cloud-based systems are still a little bit slow to have that open, open sort of.
And we know the
concept.
challenges of that. Opening up your architecture to other solutions, it is challenging, but it is important that cloud-based solutions play well with others, because ultimately the customer suffers when there isn't an open architecture.
Yes.
The customer wins when they get to choose solutions, and frankly, everybody wins in that scenario.
Yes. Yeah.
So, well, that's good. Just to wrap up here, talking through the tech stack, cost decisions, budget decisions, what's important, and we really keyed in here on the practice management solution versus a PRM solution. So just to kind of summarize, Korey, just want to give us some highlights, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, number one, look at it at the top level of your business operationally, and think about where you're going, and then choose the products based on what you know about their specific value proposition.
Right.
What
What's
type
their
of
identity?
company? Yeah, what's their identity? What type of company are they? And if that usually should give you some good information into what kind of product you're going to get.
Yeah, right. What they're going to be good at.
Yeah, what they're going to be good at. And then don't expect those silos to do the other thing well.
Yep.
Make sure you say, okay, this is my PMS solution, this is what I needed to do, and based on the identity of this solution, this is what I think I can expect.
Yep.
Probably pretty accurate.
Good.
And then same with the PRM solution.
Yep. Okay. That's really good. Along with some of the other, data redundancy, some of the other ancillary benefits are certainly some good benefits there.
Yes.
I think it's pretty clear. In most cases, there's a good argument for keeping those distinct.
Yes.
We get asked this all the time, and generally this is our
insurance.
recommendation. Yeah, cheap insurance, and obviously all the great functionality that comes between the two.
Definitely.
So, yeah. Well, thanks everybody. We love spending time with you, and hope it was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.